Thanks, Bethany. It's really good to see all of you guys. So tonight we're going to just get it kicked off. Our first presentation is from Tricia Phelps. Tricia is the CEO of Taste the Local Difference, which is a team of local marketing experts based in Michigan. In her 8 years with Taste the Local Difference, Tricia has developed a 5-county program into a widely recognized statewide local food brand and consumer education marketing campaign. If you are not already subscribed to their newsletter, I highly recommend it, and to their social media channels. They have fantastic marketing tidbits. She'll talk more about that. That's just me throwing that in there because I'm obsessed with all of the stuff they put out. But today, Tricia will be sharing marketing tips to help you get ahead during the off season, and kind of work with you to develop a plan for reaching new customers through engaging storytelling. So we're super lucky to have Tricia here. Tricia, if you want to go ahead and take it away.
Thanks so much, Emily. What a kind introduction. Appreciate that. I'm going to share my screen real quickly, if I may. So, like Emily said, like Emily said, we're going to focus on some tips for the off season right now, even though we're very much leaning into the growing season. I want to share some tips to kind of get you started off on the right foot. And then in addition to that, I've got a resource for you that'll be an opportunity for you to, I'll kind of like tee it up and you'll be able to do it in your own time as you have time, kind of a workbook for brand identity and storytelling. So without further ado, these are the 5 tips in short detail, but we'll go into each one of them here in a second, that we're going to go over here just to start off. So the first major tip is getting your name out there. Brand awareness is really everything. You know, it's so important that people see your name, see your face, see information about you before they're willing to make a purchase. And so there's many touches, digital and otherwise, that need to happen in order for you to get new customers. So it's really important to put your name out there as often as you can. And we certainly recommend taking advantage of every free resource that you can. So looking both widely for anything that's sort of broad-based that you can fit your farm into, but also for targeted specific audiences that you match with. So I'll outline a couple of them here. First one, Googling is something we all do. And it's most likely the first way that somebody's going to come across your name. So an important step to making sure that people can find you is to make sure your Google My Business account is claimed and up to date. So you've probably all seen these, but this is just on the right-hand side, an example of our GMB listing. And it's really important that this be as updated as you can possibly make it, particularly if you have a farm that people can visit in person. It's really important that those hours especially be updated as often as things change, right? In order to optimize this listing the best you can, we really recommend having quality photos there. They really do, say so many more things than just words can. And so having a couple images that either represent you or your farm or the combination of those things and what you produce are a great way to really get people a taste of your personality, even through something as simple as a Google My Business listing. If you share some information in a description, that's also a great place for people to, those keywords rather show up in your search from your search results. So it's a great place to add some key information and descriptions of your business. And then again, making sure that if you do have a physical location that people can visit, making sure those store hours are up to date and any contact information. I think this, among others, this is one of the first impressions people get of you when they Google you. So if you don't have a Google My Business listing or you don't have a website, which is another one we'll identify later, those things can speak to the professionalism of your business more than anything, from the point of view that a customer might question whether you're actually in business still if those things don't exist. And so I think that's just a really important thing to put on top of mind as we're going into the season. The next two are some more targeted specific directory listings. So in Kentucky, there's Kentucky Proud. They've got a really strong SEO presence. So when you search local food, local farms in Kentucky, they're one of the first to pop up. And I've got a link in here. I'm happy to share this with folks, but I'm sure you all have been able to find them in the past. But membership is free as far as I understand it. So being on this directory listing is a really great opportunity to include yourself in the mix of people who are searching for local food. Another opportunity, if your values aligned with Oak, is Organic Association of Kentucky. Caters to a more specific organic local food audience. But these are people, if you're an organic farmer, who are looking specifically for organic farm when they're making searches. And again, they have really strong SEO. So a great opportunity for you to get your business more widely known. So I hinted at this, but the second tip is about either creating or refreshing your website. So again, if one doesn't exist, I think it's a really great time to create something like this. It doesn't have to be multiple pages. Even just having a single page web presence helps you, again, appear professional and like you're in operation. People will trust your business more in that way. It's a really unique way, if you do have a page or two, to really show off your offerings in more detail, kind of showcase your personality with photos and stories. And one of the things we're going to work on later about your brand identity or brand story, that type of thing is what really attracts strong and loyal customers. And so having a place where people can find, if they come across you on social media, they can learn more. That's a real way of capturing interest. And I think it's an important thing to have for any small farm. So there's plenty of platforms out there to like fairly easily create something like this. Or there's marketing agencies out there that can support you with that too. Plug for Taste the Local Difference on that one. So as far as website checklist goes, this is like a couple of things that we would really encourage folks have or think about updating if you have these pages already. So if you list products or you have e-commerce, making sure all of that is up to date and accurate. Making sure that anything that has changed from the last year is up to date if you're no longer offering something or you've decided to try a couple different new varietals of something else, making sure those key products are highlighted. Even identifying specific things you're wanting to push that you know you're going to have higher volumes of, or you're hoping you'll have higher volumes of based on your crop plans for this coming year. Highlight those and see how they do in terms of getting more attention and more eyes on them. The About page, again, I mentioned this already, but it really is about, the About page really does give you sort of a emotional tie to your customers. They consider you real people when they can learn more about you. And so I think it's a really critical piece to a website and a really critical piece to marketing and frankly the local food movement in general, right? Like a lot of the value that consumers tie to local food and the reason why they're willing to seek it out and purchase it for perhaps a little bit higher price is that they want to know where their food comes from. They want to know who grew it. And having that detail is really important to your story being communicated. Sales opportunities is another critical one. Again, if you have e-commerce, great, but if not, where can people find your products? If you're not giving them a directive of or like an action to take in terms of purchasing your products, it's not an effective marketing tool. So make sure you are telling them what farmers markets you're attending, which retail stores have your product. Call out your restaurants if you're selling directly to a restaurant. That not only helps you be a better promoter of the people who are buying from you, which is great, but it makes sure that these individuals who have an expressed interest in you by visiting your website can find you and find your products and actually purchase from you. And last but not least, it seems really silly, but go through every page you can and just click the links. It's really easy for those things to either change or for us to have copy and paste the wrong one. So make sure that they are going where you want them to go and that no links have expired and maybe moved to a different location. The third tip is about email marketing. And this piece is just another really valuable tool to have in your back pocket. It's important that we be on social media in this day and age, but I can tell you as a person who's in marketing, I don't love it. And I think that there's a lot of people who feel that way and want to have more control over the messages that they're sending to their audience and not have to rely on the algorithm getting it in front of their audience. And this is a really helpful tool to do that. Once you have email addresses, every message you send is going to end up in that person's mailbox, right? So it's really a valuable tool to have if you can find the time to do it. Another thing related to that is, again, these people, if they sign up for your email list, they are expressly telling you, I am interested in your product. It's a hot lead. It's a opportunity to really connect and build a loyal audience. And so you don't want to just collect them and not do anything with them, I guess is what I'm saying, right? Because it's a audience that is telling you that they want more. So in terms of the checklist for email marketing, I think this first thing is something that people get a little overwhelmed with, because when we talk about email marketing, maybe they're thinking about the dozens of emails that they get every day, filling their inbox and thinking that they need to keep up with that type of frequency, but it's really not the case. I would encourage folks to start with what is actually doable for you. Start lower in terms of frequency, or fewer times in terms of frequency. So if you're doing it once a quarter or once a month during the growing season, that's absolutely fine. And in fact, the consistency is the most important element to this. Having, a message that you clearly want to articulate or a call to action that you're asking your customers to take, really important. And making sure that the frequency is something that you can handle will make it that much more effective. You're that much more likely to follow through on doing it if you pick a frequency that is realistic and doable for you. So don't try to bite off weekly email blasts if that's not in your schedule. Stick to a more reasonable frequency with that. In terms of content, we definitely recommend, if you're thinking about doing this or if you do this already, kind of spending time now to outline a content calendar. That can be, maybe you're planning a specific on-farm event that you want to do your, July newsletter about that event, promoting that event, making sure those things are kind of called out in advance in your own mind for organization, so that you can make sure that all the things that need to be promoted in July, say for August, are getting that promotional time, and you're not forgetting it when it comes down to writing the content itself. So any of those, special announcements or promotions or, seasonality related to your product offering, that type of thing is a great thing to kind of build out in terms of a form or checklist. The next thing you could do right now, if you don't have one already, is create a template. So in MailChimp or Constant Contact or whatever email marketing tool you might use, there's always a design, there's templates that exist, and then there's also those templates you can tweak to make your own design. So set up at least one of those templates that is branded with your farm information and logo and colors and whatnot, so that all you have to do when it comes to actually getting that monthly newsletter out is write the text and press send. You don't have to redesign everything. You don't have to it takes time to build that first template out. And you can save those so that all you have to do is duplicate that template and then edit the contents of it. And last but not least, if you have time right now, writing and scheduling some of those emails are things you can do. Just like social media, we can schedule them ahead to be sent at a certain time, or at a minimum, again, write sort of the topics you want to cover in a particular month, so that you're planning ahead and don't have to do that kind of heavy strategic thinking when you only have an hour to get this piece of content written. So if you have time to sort of pick away at that and at least outline the things you want to cover or write some of it right now, that can get you a lot further ahead when it comes to the busy season. With that, I didn't check the chat, so I just want to make sure. I do want to ask you guys, does anybody receive, it doesn't have to be farming or food related, but does anybody receive an email like an email marketing newsletter that they get that you really like? And do you have any, what are the ones that make you stop and actually read them? What are the effective ones? What is it about them that makes you stop? If you could throw it in the chat, that would be really helpful. I'd love to have some ideas in there. Not too wordy. Love it. Subject line is attention grabbing, mobile friendly, helpful resources or information, good photos. These are all really great. Recipes. Yeah. So again, I think another part of email marketing that can feel intimidating if you aren't doing it yet is that you have to write a novel in this email campaign, right? But you really don't. The effective ones are short and sweet. They're to the point. They have a quick little call to action. There are some images included, and the subject line it makes you want to click, right? Those are the keys, not a big, long narrative that takes hours and hours and hours to create. Cool. All right. So the fourth tip is promotional materials. These are things that need to be either designed or updated, and those things could be items like your rack cards that maybe bring customers to your website. Maybe it's a thing that you leave or have at the farmer's market, right? Maybe it's a flyer for a community event, on-farm thing that you're going to do. You could create that in advance so you don't have to, again, do that in your busiest season. Or if you are a farmer who attends market, maybe some of the branding for your signage or that sort of thing, or pricing cards need to be updated there too. This is a great time to do that. I don't know if I'm sure the word is getting out about this amazing tool, so I'm sure some of you have heard about it. But this presentation itself is done on Canva, and Canva is a really fabulous design tool that cuts out all of the complications of Photoshop and InDesign and those types of Adobe products that are great in their own right, but it makes designing so much more simpler, and a lot of really great resources. Canva there's a free option. There are paid options, but the free option is great. If you haven't checked that out, I certainly recommend it for flyer design or that type of thing. Somebody else called out CSA Innovation Network, and there's a lot of great resources that they shared for CSA Week that included some Canva templates. So again, really useful tool if you haven't used it already. Okay, and the fifth item I want to call out to spend some time on before the busiest part of your season comes up is that you don't want to ignore your customers all winter long. As much as you're, maybe not interested in staying as in close contact, or you're trying to take a break because everybody needs a break. It is really important to not ignore them and then only come back when you're, starting up to sell again. It just doesn't help. It doesn't help in your connectivity that you're trying to build with your customers, right? So showing them parts of your life that maybe aren't specific to the fruit or vegetables that you're aiming to sell really helps paint a bigger picture of what it is that you do, who you are as a person, what your business means to you, all of those things. So I think it's, in terms of social media or that type of thing, having some point of contact so that, again, your business still looks active, right? I think that's important. It'll help you if you're active during that time, even if it's less active than you are in the growing season. But if you're still maintaining some activity there, that's really important to keeping yourself top of mind for customers when it does come to the growing season. So again, social media is a great place to do that. This can look, you don't have to be posting as much maybe, but liking, sharing, or commenting on other people's posts is a really great way to build engagement. So if you'd like to participate that way, that's a great option. Content ideas for this time of year, how are you recharging? What are you cooking? What recipes? People called out, those are really great content ideas. Even as your crop planning and, what is spring on the farm look like? People are really interested in that behind the scenes type of content, and definitely helps them feel more connected to you when you kind of, get a peek behind the curtain. And last but not least, of course, if you've got an email newsletter, sharing something there, again, related to these types of content ideas can be helpful. So I'm gonna take a pause for any questions maybe on that piece of content before I dive into the next piece, which is the more hands-on, like brand story workbook type of thing. So I'll take a pause, and if you've got any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat.
I know we had one question, Tricia, from Bethany earlier. And you kind of mentioned the QR code aspect, but just if you had any other tips for driving people to sign up for your email list, just like, how to get that initial hook into your customers to get them to want to get your stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I think QR codes are great. We always have them in our link in bio for any social media opportunity, so people can learn more there. Having it at the top of your links are always helpful. And you can also do the same thing on Facebook. There's a way to tie that in too. And frankly, I would say one of the best ways to collect emails is in person with a physical list. As much as it like takes a little bit more time to then input those things into your digital email campaign, it's a really valuable way, and it's still face-to-face connection is still a really, word of mouth, face-to-face connection is still a really valuable marketing tool. And I think when people get a chance to meet you, connect with your personality, that's when they might want to learn more too. So having a list like that at the market or at pickup or at an event you're doing is a great way. All right. Texting. I think this is a really interesting new horizon. You know, frankly, I get really annoyed when I get some text messages, but if I was getting text messages about like the fact that blueberries were in season and here's how you buy them, I would be stoked about that. So I think it's a real great opportunity. I will say the texting services that we've investigated so far have been fairly costly. So maybe there's some folks here who have suggestions for texting services if they've explored that. But it's definitely something I think is a new horizon and pretty exciting, a great way to connect again with like people who clearly want to hear more from you if they're giving you their number rather. And I think people who use like a point of sale system at the farmer's market too, a lot of those like the Square card reader, because people use them with their phones, there's phone numbers already tied to those cards, which, might feel a little icky, I suppose, but it's a great way to connect with those folks too, if there's a way to communicate with people who have already purchased from you, right? Great. Amber's got it. One-stop shop. And that's a great recommendation too, actually, is when you're selecting a platform that you're going to build your website on, or a platform that you're asking someone else to do that for you, identifying one that is paired with or works with your existing either inventory system or point of sale device is so important to making everything, more efficient and streamlined. Square is a great option. All right. I'll keep looking for questions and we will have space at the end too. So feel free to throw them in there. But for now, I want to send over this link to you guys in the chat. So this is the document I'm going to be referencing. You just have to throw your name and email address in there and you can download it or you'll get it downloaded right to your page. If you don't want to do it right now, that's all right too, but that's the link that you can find this information. It's a 6-page workbook basically for you to spend some time diving deep into your customers and your audience, answering some questions about them, and then detailing your own story from your point of view and kind of finding some overlap of what your audience is looking for and needing and wanting and valuing from you, and what you really want to communicate and make sure people understand about you as a business, as an individual, what makes your business important to you. So I'm gonna go over some of that stuff right now. But again, this is something that I would encourage you all to do on your own time. It's definitely worth investing some time into. Okay, so brand identity. This is This is important for several reasons. I think I've been calling it out throughout the presentation, but your story is what makes someone a loyal customer. It's what brings people back. It's what makes people committed to you. And again, in the local food movement, I don't think there's really anything more important than that story. That connection between you and the consumer is what it's all about, right? And so the story behind your business, behind your brand, is more than just the logo that people see. It's the story behind what you do and the why behind what you do. And I think that is how we connect as people, and it's how we connect to brands that we really love or businesses that we really love, right? It's shared values. So I think this process is a really important one to spend time on. And it's something that you can reuse. It's a piece of, I mean, it's your story, right? It's an evergreen piece of content. So it's something that you can reuse ongoing, and you'll adapt it, of course, to like different mediums and things. And maybe some things may change, of course, but it's worth putting the time into and diving into now, if you haven't already, to really feel strong and confident in that story, and strong and confident in the pieces of that story that are most important to hit on. You may only have 5 minutes with someone to tell them about your business. On social media, you have like 10 seconds, right? So what are the core things that you want to communicate, and how are you going to communicate those things? That's the strategy we're trying to identify here. So I guess I went too far, because I want to call out, if you've downloaded the document already, you'll see that the first page is about knowing your audience, and it's got some questions there. Let me see if I can just share this instead. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so this is what it looks like. The know your audience section, it's got several questions in here about you taking some time to really identify who are your existing loyal ideal customers. And part of doing this is that you want to create more of them, right? So you want to really identify who is it that you're talking to, and what is it that, like, what do they see in you? What is the values that they have? What is the value you're providing them? What is the reason why they're buying from you? What problem are you solving for them that they would have had otherwise were you not, in business? So I think these questions are really valuable, because again, we're trying to not create carbon copies of these customers, but like, you want a similar type of loyalty, right? And somebody who's gonna purchase from you, and purchase in the quantities you want, and need them to purchase in, and be committed to your CSA. And replicating that type of persona, it can be helpful if you understand why it is that they value you, right? So again, somebody called out CSA Innovation Network, and between CSA In and Corinna Bench of My Digital Farmer, there's been some really great work on the values behind people purchasing CSAs that I would certainly recommend. I don't have the link offhand, but I'll try to find it. I would certainly recommend folks to check in about. And one of the things that or one of the ways this information was compiled was through end of season surveys, or even if it's not end of season, it's like past customer surveys, right? So if you haven't done that, also highly recommend including one of those surveys to your current customers. So again, you can understand, why is it, not just what do you think, but what are the reasons why these people would, these customers of yours would call out that they purchase from you, because those are messages and values and ways of communicating with future customers about the value you provide. So definitely highly recommend that. Let's see. Okay, we're back on presentation screen, I hope. So in terms of writing the story, the next steps, so that the next page is the beginning of writing your brand statement. And the questions we ask are about, what inspired you to start your business? What problem were you trying to solve? What are the challenges you overcame, and how did you overcome them? And I think the point of these questions is really to pull a personal response from you, because what we're trying to communicate in your story is we're trying to collect an emotional response from the customer themselves, right? Or we're trying to evoke, rather, a emotional response from the customer, because that's what persuades us to do anything, right? It persuades us to, sure, purchase something, but it persuades us to do a lot of to feel trust, to like someone. There's a lot of, it's an emotional response that is responsible for a lot of our decision making. And I think an important element to do in this story is to really use your humor, use your passion, your your relatability as a person, as somebody who hits roadblocks and then works their way through them. All of those things are what build genuine connection with people in general, and that's what you're trying to do with your brand story and telling this. So get personal, explain what matters to you, share how you're unique. Being transparent in that way is really helpful. It actually, even though it can be scary, it's really strong, and it's really a valuable way of communicating with people to understand the real you. So let's see. Sorry, I'm going back and forth between these two things. But I want to make sure I share all the details for those who didn't download it just yet. So the next part of this brand workbook, I called out the few questions here. There's several more on this page. Again, that takes some dedicated time to answer those thoughtfully and transparently. And then the next thing you're going to do is go back through and underline all of the parts that you want to share most about your story, and then go back through and circle all of the parts that your customers sort of deemed were most important, right? Either in those surveys or what you've kind of outlined in this first section. So what we're trying to do there is, and I called this out at the top, but identify what's most important for you to communicate and what most resonates with your customers, because that overlap is where the most effective story lies. So again, you're gonna walk through those things, underline what's most important to you to communicate, circle what seems to resonate with your customers the most. And based on that, you should hopefully find some overlap to allow you to create your brand statement in more detail. Then once you've done that, you can, spend however much time you have to really build that story out. But I think what's important is, again, that story can be repurposed and used. It is evergreen content. It can be used across multiple channels. include elements of that on your website, in your social media, in your newsletter, pull out those key messages that you wanted to communicate, the things that resonate most with your customers, and use those as the outline for what's most important to communicate. You can't communicate all of the words, right? Not in every media type or channel, right? But you can pick a few that seem to be most resonant to you and most resonant to your customers to make sure you communicate at every turn. And then with that, as we've said from the beginning, and you all called out yourselves, enhancing that story with visuals of you, of your family, of the farm, whatever you're willing to share and again, share behind the scenes really, really helps to paint that picture a little bit more. And I think with that, the only other thing I wanted to call out, and I'll take questions on the workbook or anything after this, is that Taste the Local Difference we do free monthly webinars. And so these are the upcoming ones that we've got on the list for the rest of the year. So if that interests you, they're free to sign up at localfoodmarketing.com. Let's see. Yeah, Charlene, I think I've absolutely seen those same long-winded personal posts. And while some of those folks do have a lot of followers, if it doesn't resonate with you and it's not authentic to you, don't do that. You know, I think what's most important in this effort is being like open and transparent the way you feel comfortable doing that. And if that means, you know, a photo here and there about the behind the scenes at the farm and it's just a couple of words, it's not too wordy, that's absolutely fine. And I think people will resonate with that. I don't think you need to, you know, share novels on social media to be transparent and to be honest with people.
Yeah, and I actually had Tricia 2 questions come through that were kind of related to that. First one is there a way to share your story but also utilize boundaries? It just feels like sometimes a farm is sharing like some really intense stuff, and like I can understand that that's really transparent, but also it kind of walks this line of what's too much to share or what's professional to share.
Mm-hmm.
And then kind of and it added on to that is just many farmers want to talk about their family or use pictures of their family but also want to protect their children, so it just feels just kind of like that balancing act between the transparency and what you're comfortable with, I guess, is
Yeah.
any advice.
I think, I guess what I would say is that I think people are gonna connect with you when you're being your most authentic self, right? And if that means communicating with your audience that you have boundaries about certain things, I think that's okay. Like you share a picture, say there's that photo that I shared just a second ago of this really beautiful little girl on her dad's tractor, right? Maybe if you were this dad, you wouldn't want that picture shown, and put the smiley emoji or something like that over top of it if that's how you feel, because a lot of people do. I don't post pictures of my daughter on social, and I think people will resonate with that. They'll see that you're showing that you have a family, but that you have boundaries and you're not willing to show your child's face. And I think people absolutely understand that and respect it. And again, by communicating in that way and being your authentic self, somebody who feels the same way you do is going to connect with you stronger because you are being yourself. So I would say if you're feeling boundaries there, absolutely hold true to them. And I think it's a really valuable way to communicate about it too. I'm trying to think if there's any other advice I would give. Yeah, I guess that's what
Yeah,
I
no,
would say.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Like, and kind of speaking to Charlene's point, it's like if you present one way online versus how you present in person,
Mhm.
it just feels inauthentic. So just like
Right.
really staying true to who you are is like the easiest way to, go about that. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And we are all individuals, but there are so many people who feel the same way you do about boundaries or social media or whatever it is that we're specifically talking about there, and they're going to resonate more strongly with you because you were honest about that or you held your boundary, right?
I think something kind of, this is Brett, I'll be on in the second half. One thing I was thinking about that question, maybe a creative way of doing it is that there's ways to kind of convey the experience of being a parent that don't involve showing the kid per se. So spilled box of cereal, you can relate to this and you're thinking about dinner time or whatever, like those types of experience, like thinking it could be an opportunity to almost be creative about ways of displaying it with that are more not necessarily generic, but they're less like, this is my child's face. Look at my child's face. That could be kind of interesting. But yeah, I think it is a tricky one.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Brett. It's clever, it's relatable. Like that's what we're trying to get at too when we're communicating or suggesting the idea of communicating transparently. It's that ultimately we want people to relate to you, right? And it's hard to relate to a completely faceless brand. But if you can do it in funny ways of like showing your humor instead or things of that nature, like I love that idea of the spilled, cereal. It's such a great visual, and people are immediately transported to like, oh yeah, just yesterday when my daughter spilled all that cereal, right? And it makes them feel a connection with you. That's a great idea. Yeah, pets too.
I had one question for you, Tricia. This is something
Mhm.
that we try to think through with our CCD content a lot, and I know we get this question a lot. It's just like thinking about your branding workbook and going through, and circling what resonates with your customers. I don't know if you have any tips for trying to really understand what it is that resonates with your customers, like instead of just like me projecting what I think resonates with them versus like what is actually speaking to them. I don't know if that makes any sense, but
Yeah, I think I called out a survey at the beginning or somewhere in that presentation about surveying your current customers or CSA members. I think that's great. I want to encourage people to recognize that, like, if you don't ask, you're not going to get that information either. And these people are your customers. Like they clearly like you and they clearly like what you're doing enough to purchase from you. So if you ask them a question, like a pointed question, they're likely going to share with you. I would say doing something like that on social could be a way of engaging people through the comment section. Doing a survey is a great way through email marketing or something of that nature. If you're at CSA pickup and you think of a question you want to ask all of the customers that day, I think that's a great way to do it. It's just, if you don't ask, you won't get that information. And I think most customers in this context would be happy to share their thoughts with you about it.
thank you. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Do we have any other questions for Tricia while she's still here, either about the marketing tips for CSAs during the off season or other marketing tips in addition to the kind of the branding storytelling part. It's all right if not. Awesome. Well, I will drop a link into the chat to their newsletter. If I'll find it at some point and drop it in there. Because they have a lot of really amazing resources and services that Taste Local Difference offers. Okay, thanks, Bethany. She's gonna find it for me. In addition to that, if you need some inspiration about what makes a newsletter good, I think they have a really, really phenomenal example of that. So could be helpful. And then they have 2 different social media channels as well, right, Tricia? One is your main one, and then one's like a specific marketing tips one.
Yeah, so as Emily called out at the beginning, we're part of our effort is a consumer marketing campaign for local food in Michigan. So that channel, Taste Local Difference, is most often geared towards consumers and that type of content. So definitely something you can and should follow to reshare relevant things with your own customers. But the other one, Local Food Marketing, I would definitely encourage you to follow too, because it's specifically geared towards businesses like yours and tips and tricks for marketing local food.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Tricia, for coming tonight. And as Sharon said, just a really, really great presentation with a lot of really helpful stuff that, I know people who are here tonight will take a lot away from, and then hopefully we'll have a lot of views on our recording as well. And yeah, so just really appreciate you coming.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thanks so much, you guys.